Over the past 3 years, I've organized and participated in more than 30 networking events, and today I'm going to share the gems of those experiences and how you can just leverage your student status to build powerful and lasting connections. Hi, welcome to episode 51 of the SelfSeed podcast. 51. That's a great year. God is good. Probably one of the final episodes of season 3. I'm Emmanuel, and today we are diving into a topic that can change the trajectory of your student life: networking. But not just any networking. We are talking about strategic, authentic networking as a student, both in China and beyond. So whether you are in a university in China, Africa, the US, or anywhere in the world, this episode is packed with tips and stories to help you make the most of every opportunity. So let's get right into it. Let's get it. So you may be wondering, why networking, especially as a student? Why is it important? Isn't that for someone, or isn't that something for people who already have jobs? Those people who are having established careers? Well, here is the truth. Networking as a student is one of the most powerful things you can do to set yourself up for success in the long run. It is something that can take you a long way. It is something that will eventually yield fruits in the future. So I've been able to cooperate with companies, expand my network globally, and even increase my personal brand recognition through networking. The simple fact is, the sooner you start building relationships and learning how to leverage them, the better. The sooner you start building relationships and learn how to leverage them, the better. Because networking is a skill that pays off, and it actually starts even before graduation. You set these connections and all that before you can leave school. So what have I learned from attending and organizing over 30 events? Let me share with you some quick but essential tips that I've picked up along the way, along this journey, along these few months, few years and all that. The first thing I learned is attend events that you're truly interested in. If you're not enthusiastic enough about the topic, it's going to be hard to engage. So you have to choose events that excite you. That passion will come through in your interaction. It will be visible, because if you're bored with the event, then even the way you interact with people will say that. And then the second thing is, be ready to offer value for free. Now, networking isn't just about what you can get. It's about what you can give as well. Be willing to share knowledge, resources, or just your time to help others. Because the more you give, the more you'll receive in return. I think this is Newton's third law: to every action there's equal and opposite reaction. And then the third thing is, have an optimistic outlook. Yes, networking can feel intimidating, especially as a student. But if you approach every event with a positive attitude, you'll open doors that might have seemed impossible otherwise. And then the other thing that comes on top of that is, know your stuff and be ready to share. Because the more you know, whether it's about your field of study, a hobby, or just a current trend, the more leverage you have in conversation. But you should remember something important, that always try to explain things in simple terms so that anyone can understand. And then the fifth tip I have is, create value beyond the student sphere. Even if you're just a student, your knowledge and contributions can actually go beyond that title. So you have to start sharing what you're passionate about and what you're good at, and don't be afraid to challenge the student status quo in conversation. Another thing is, your friends are an experiment in networking. The people around you, this group that you call family, you call friends, you shouldn't underestimate the power of these people, the friendships, because you have to just learn to treat these interactions as practice for bigger networking moments with a deeper, more personal connection. And then also try to find what you're really good at. When you pause for a moment, can you really articulate your strengths clearly and concisely? This is very important. This is vital. Know what you bring to the table and be able to explain it in a way that anyone can relate to. And on top of that, you should do what you love and do it consistently. This is something I've learned, that when you are really great at something, it shows and others will notice. And then when people see that you're consistently doing something you're passionate about, they'll eventually want to connect with you. They will want to pick on your mind and understand, get to know the person behind everything that is happening. And then the last thing I think is understand your audience, because not everyone is the same and networking isn't one size fits all. So you have to adapt your approach depending on who you're talking to, and just try as much as possible to be respectful of different communication styles. And one of the most impactful webinars I attended on networking was hosted by my friend Ella Mary Taylor, who's also been on the podcast, I think, episode 2 of this season 3. In her webinar, she shared some fantastic tips that can transform how you network as a student. The first thing she said was that caught my attention was, don't lead with I am a student mindset. When you meet someone for the first time, right? Don't start with your title or student status. Just focus on your experience and interest and let the conversation, evolve naturally. You don't start by introducing your title and all that. You start by, experience, interest. Yeah, and then the conversation will just go on naturally. And then the second thing she highlighted, she mentioned was, instead of thinking about what you want, ask questions about the other person's experiences, their entrepreneurial journey, their career or industry. Eventually, this will show that you're genuinely interested in them, because it's not about you. It's about, the other person, and they feel heard. And then the third thing is, let your needs come up naturally. Now, don't start by asking for a job or an internship, my man. Build a relationship first, and then let the opportunities come in naturally. Let it flow, God will provide, but just be genuine in your interaction with others. And then another key thing to remember in networking is personal branding. I've come across many personal branding formulas, and one that's particularly useful for networking is your big idea, your backstory, your personality, and your client success stories. All of these, put them together. Your big idea plus your backstory plus your personality plus your client success stories. This formula helps you craft a narrative that's not only authentic, but it's also compelling, because it tells people who you are, what you stand for, and why they should connect with you. I repeat that again. It tells people who you are, what you stand for, and why is it important that why should they connect with you. Think of networking as a chance to tell your story, and just make sure it's one that others will want to be part of. Just people would want to be part of that story, I remember a couple of months ago, I was listening to one episode from the Think Fast, Talk Smart podcast by Matt Abrams, and they shared 3 amazing tips that I think can also help in our networking settings. In this particular, they were talking about how to become a spontaneous speaker, but I think it's also applicable in our networking settings. The first thing they mentioned that was key is trust in yourself. Believe that you have something valuable to offer in any conversation. You have something valuable. There's something you can share with another person, and that they may become genuinely interested in you. And then try to pay attention to the room. Be observant. Take time to read the room, see who's there, and get a sense of the atmosphere just before diving into a conversation, into the event itself. Try to see who's there. Read the room, read the atmosphere. And then the third thing they said is have fun. Now, networking shouldn't feel like a chore. If you approach it with a fun and light-hearted attitude, then you'll not only enjoy it more, but others will also be drawn to your energy, because you're always having fun when you meet people, when you're in an event and all that. And so many people will be drawn to you because they want to feel what you're feeling and all that. So there you have it. Tips, tricks, and insights from my personal experience and those of other networking pros. Now, as a student, you have got a unique advantage. You are in a learning environment, and people will respect that if you just approach networking with the right mindset. People will respect the criteria you have if you go with the right mindset. The key is to add value, build genuine relationships, and most importantly, have fun along the way. As we wrap up this season, I want you to remember that networking is a journey and it doesn't stop when you leave campus. So I encourage you to stay curious, stay open, and just keep on building those connections. You never know when they will become useful, or you will become useful to other people. So thanks for joining me on episode 51 of the SelfSeed podcast. I'll see you in the next one with more inspiring content to help you grow and thrive as a student, a young person, and beyond.